What's going on, guys? My name is AK, back again with another YouTube video. Now in today's video we're breaking down the 3 main roles for competitive Call of Duty. So for each of them we're going to be going into what their job is on the map, the kind of things that they need to be doing on the map, you know, things to look out for, things to avoid maybe, how best to improve at these roles, and then last but not least the traits and sort of the skills that these players need to have to do their job the best. So if you aren't already aware, the 3 main roles are main AR, flex and submachine gun player, and so in today's video we'll be breaking down each of them. Now one last thing I do want to say just about the gameplay in the background. This is a gameplay from a scrim that I recorded a little bit earlier today. I was planning on uploading it as a video, but for some reason OBS had changed the mic, so you couldn't actually hear my game, sort of my voice, only the teammates and the game sound, which I thought made it a little bit weird. So decided to scrap it as the upload, but it's still the gameplay in the background of today's videos. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Now, if you're new to the game and want to sort of get a good knowledge about what everyone is meant to be doing on the map, you can watch this whole video. It's probably the best thing to do. But if you've got a little bit of knowledge and are looking for one role in specific, they will all be time-stamped along the bottom of the video. So just have a little look and skip to the one you're interested in. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So starting off, what I wanted to do is I wanted to break down what the average team composition looks like in Call of Duty. So the current meta is somewhere sort of hovering around 1 main AR, 1 flex and 2 submachine gun players. So there'll be 1 AR that consistently always uses the AR. Given with how the current meta is and how sort of strong the ARs can be at the moment, the flex normally runs an AR. In fact, the only map that comes to mind that you really are going to be wanting to run 3 submachine guns on is Apocalypse, you know, Apocalypse Hardpoint. Quite often a lot of teams will run a 3 sub meta for that, but really, literally every other map is normally a 2 AR, 2 SMG setup with the flex player running that second AR. That is why if you're looking for players for teams, quite often you'll see flex players also sort of call themselves second ARs, because for nearly every game, that is what they're actually running. Also, with the lack of a good second AR now with the QBZ GA and all that kind of thing, generally it's 2 Krigs, 2 AK-74Us, but that is the meta as of now, and of course that is always open to change with future updates. But anyway, let's get into breaking down the roles. So we'll be starting off with the main AR. So what is the main AR's job? The main AR's job is to get map pressure, get vision across the whole map, post up on the power positions. If you're a main AR, you're gonna love the word power positions. It's what you're all about. So this is my role. This is what I play, and I have done for many years now. I've been playing AR since like Advanced Warfare. So that's like 7 years. So I have a little bit of experience in it, and it's all about the power position. So if you're thinking the top floating tank on Garrison, you're talking in the tube or the boxes to the sort of the side of the plane on Checkmate, anything like that, those nice head glitches that allow you just to set up and be like Octane, you know, the turret. You don't want to be sitting there, you want to be mowing down the enemies and not giving them a chance to shoot back. So this will give your team a whole load of map pressure and kill pressure, you know, locking down that map, allowing your subs to push up and not have to be worried about actually being killed by the enemy team's ARs, because you want to get that dominance on the map for yourself. So what are some of the things that the AR should do on the map? So I've already mentioned setting up on those power positions, those head glitches, locking down the map, but also being that you're sort of sat back, and maybe if you're thinking on the plane fin on Checkmate, you've got a lot of vision across the map. So being able to call out spawns and sort of have that kind of knowledge and actually sort of be that in-game leader. You notice a lot of in-game leaders in the CDL and in top teams are the players that run the ARs because they have the most vision. A bit like a goalkeeper in football, you know, they're the furthest back, they've got the most vision that they can, and so they can make the most informed decisions. But also you see a lot of ARs sort of doing the anchoring role now. Unlike sort of years in the past where anchoring was its own role, now it is kind of everybody needs to do everything, but that doesn't mean that you can't have someone sort of mainly play one role or someone mainly play the other. And quite often you'll find the ARs are those ones that are first rotating, going for the back spawns, just because a lot of the spawn points, think maybe Moscow P3, there's a massive back spawn, and so to lock that down properly, you're going to want an AR. So really, ARs are quite often going to be looking at least starting to anchor the spawns. Maybe you can swap it with the second AR or the flex player, but essentially a lot of ARs are going to be looking for spawns. So definitely if you play main AR, having spawns on your mind throughout the whole of the game of, well, Hardpoint and Control as well. I mean, not that you can anchor spawns for Control, but at least being able to have a clue of spawns and where you want to be pre-aiming, things like that, is going to be very helpful. So let's be breaking down the traits of a good main AR player. So first of all, good communication. If you're going to be that in-game leader, you want that good map vision, or you're going to have that good map vision, so you want to be able to communicate that effectively to your teammates. So working on good callouts, you know, those quick, efficient, snappy callouts, not sort of stumbling over your words and not being able to actually call out quickly and efficiently, it's going to be very effective, because essentially quite a lot of your submachine gun players are going to be running around, not blind, but they're going to be listening to your information. If they're a good submachine gun player, they will be listening very well to the callouts so that they can react to them very quickly. So being able to give those callouts as quickly and efficiently as possible is going to be very helpful. Also, as a main AR, you're going to want to have good game knowledge and especially good spawn knowledge, because again, in hardpoint, you are looking a lot anchoring those spawns, sort of stopping the enemies actually from breaking the spawns. So having a good idea of all where the spawn locations are and where you need to be to anchor spawns. Now, if you are a main AR and you're looking to learn that kind of thing, I do have loads of videos on my channel about how to anchor spawns, where the spawn points are, all those kind of things. So do check out my my playlist. I think I've got a Cold War tips and tricks or maps guides, things like that. Go check them out. There's loads of very useful videos in there for you. But having those kind of things and sort of locking down, knowing that game knowledge, where will people spawn if you go here, where will people spawn if you're spawning out, things like that, having that knowledge is going to be very helpful, definitely something you want to learn. And last but not least is positioning. Positioning is probably the most important thing for a main AR, you know, making sure that you're set up on those headies, making sure that you're only challenging gunfights that you have a good chance of winning, you know. I mean, of course, you don't want to be too slow. You don't want to be completely stationary on the map. Otherwise, if you don't have spawns or if you're very sort of if you're very stiff, you know, that people say that as stiff main are people that don't move, and you don't want to be that person. You do want to know when you need to move, but positioning is key. Maybe a video that I might do in the future, sort of talk about that positioning, but I guess I have sort of covered that in terms of anchoring spots and how to hold hard points, things like that, so definitely go check them out. So how to improve as a main AR? Well, this is going to apply to all of them, but you're going to want to watch pros that play that role. So you're talking people like Arcites, Formals, Skies, you know, those main ARs, the people that are always running those ARs, just pick them out. Insight is actually another good example on Toronto. You watch these people and you learn what do they do and you copy it yourself. Now, also breaking down sort of the listenings and, you know, and trying to work out who that main AR is, notice their voice. I mean, it's quite easy with Optic. Everyone knows what all the Optic guys sound like, and just sort of listening to the calls that they're making, and that kind of shows sort of their thought process and what they're doing. So listening into those, I know they're only quite small when they do them, but try and get as much out of them as you can. And last but not least, working on your shot, you know, practice with the Krig 24/7. If you're a main AR, you know, go into pubs, don't use your Mac 10s and your LC 10s. I certainly hope anyone that's subscribed to my channel doesn't use those in public matches. But throw on your Krig, you know, just practice with it over and over again. Make sure your shot is a laser, and if you're not missing bullets, you're going to be a much better AR. But that's about it for the main AR role. Next, we'll be talking about the flex role. So as I mentioned before, in the main AR role, or if you're just coming here to watch what a flex is a player that, for the most part in the current meta, runs that second AR. So as you know, the common sort of setup is a 2 AR, 2 sub meta on all maps bar really Apocalypse, and this is the map that the flex is going to need to have that knowledge of how to play with the submachine gun, but generally be more confident with the AR because that is what you're going to be using most of the time. So your job is to assist, you know, assist that main AR or assist your subs, you know, sort of be that support role, be helpful where you can, you know, lock down the hill if you need to, you know, if there's a hill with long sight lines and you've got the AR, you know, you can hop in that, you can grab that time, and communication is important, you know. So say your main AR wants to lock down a line of sight, you want to be able to communicate with your main AR, say, okay, I'll go block spawns, I'll go get the spawns, you know, things like that. You want to be a good communicator, you want to be able to work very fluidly with the rest of your team. Now, the flex player also does tend to play a little bit faster than the main AR, so you're going to be sort of playing with your subs a lot more, not just sort of calling out for them, but also actively sort of trading with them, maybe doing a bait and switch, you know, maybe having one of your subs fly across to sort of draw out the enemies and then you peek around the corner and then shoot them. I know this is something you see quite a lot sort of towards Laundry at the back of Raid, you know, have people set up on that tree, you have your sub player slide across and then you have your second AR or someone that's sort of communicated with that to come around the corner and help pick the person off the tree. But similar to the main AR, your flex is going to want to have very good communication skills, you know, a very good shot as well, and also be very adaptable, you know. Quite often your flex needs the ability to be able to bring out that sub and be good with it, you know. There's no point sort of only being with the AR, especially because maybe in S&D you do run a sub, maybe for certain strategies, you know, because certainly in S&D it's a little bit different to sort of the way that Hardpoint runs, in that you normally want a very sort of set up. In S&D, I know Snipers are Jade at the moment, but whenever they come back, these are all things that this flex player is going to want to be good with. So definitely practice, you know. Hop into public matches, make sure that you're solid with the Krig, make sure you're solid with the AK-74U, whatever gun, it may be if some come into the meta again with some future weapon patches, get very good with them, make sure that nobody can shoot back. Now, flex is a very supporting role, so you're going to be very supportive of your SMGs. You're going to be helping them out with things that they need. Communicate very sort of closely with them. If they want to hop out of the hill, you grab the hill time. If they want to go out, sort of push up, get the map pressure. You just need to be able to communicate this well with your team. Now the flex AR or the second AR does tend to play a little bit faster pace, so you don't want to be sat back as far as your main AR. You know, you want to get a little bit more up in the face. Not too much. You know, with Krieg still being that AR of choice for that second AR, the flex player. There is sort of a limit to what that gun can do, but definitely trying to play it at least a little bit faster. You know, working to get that map pressure, communicating with the subs, playing that a little bit faster is how your flex player wants to play. So I think I've already mentioned it, but we'll just quickly go over the skills that a flex player needs. So first of all, they need to be very adaptable. They need to be able to use that SMG. They need to be able to use their AR, things like that. They need to be good with both weapons. They also need to have very good communication. You know, they need to be able to communicate with the subs, with the ARs, coordinate pushes, you know, and actually do a level of in-game leading themselves. You know, maybe you'll have one main in-game leader, normally the AR, but the flex player can still make those calls. You know, they still have more vision than the subs do, and so they can make those calls and, you know, sort of help inform the team about what to do better. Now, last but not least, they do also need to be very sort of supportive and be able to sort of help the subs and help the ARs. You know, be that person that maybe isn't the most flashy. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some very flashy flex players that can put up big numbers, but a lot of the times these players are sort of more willing just to, you know, get that scrap time. You know, fly out, get those trades, just sort of do the scrappy stuff that is going to help you win, but maybe not necessarily make you look the best player. Now, last but not least, we're moving on to the submachine gun role. So the general team comp at the moment is actually a team running 2 SMGs, you know, 2 AK-74Us, very overpowered in the current game meta, or certainly a very strong choice. Maybe not necessarily overpowered, but certainly a very strong choice. Now, actually breaking this down, there isn't one set way that the sub plays. You know, you have some players that are more sort of Slayer SMGs, some that are more sort of entry subs, and I'll sort of go into a little bit of detail about what they are. So starting off with the entry sub, this is the person that is going to be, you know, flying around the corners. Again, less focused on actually sort of putting up the numbers, but instead focused on doing the things that are important to win. So they're going to be the first ones flying into the hill, just trying to draw attention to help their teammates actually pick up kills or get map pressure, anything like that. They're also going to be doing things like baiting and switching, if you know the sort of the U slide across and then draw the enemy's fire and then have a teammate kill them, things like that. That's actually going to be very useful, something that your entry sub player is going to get very good at. Your main sub, again, is going to be sort of supporting there, but with a little bit more of a focus on, you know, the slaying, the picking up kills, and say locking down hard points, picking up the objective time. Again, but these subs have to just work well together, and that's something you're going to see quite a lot between subs. You know, you talk about sub duos, you know, Simp and Abizi, you've got Scump, Envoy, people like that. These are submachine gun players that work very well together, and they almost act as one combined SMG force on the map. Now, quite often your SMG player is also the bomb carrier in S&D, just because, you know, you want to be able to get that bomb and quickly challenge gunfights, especially if you're looking at bomb locations, say checkmate, the middle, top of the plane. You're definitely going to want a submachine gun player to get that down, but if you just look at bomb sites in general, normally they're quite sort of closed spaces, so having an SMG have that bomb does kind of help, just being that the bomb sites are, normally in more enclosed spaces. So what are the skills that a good SMG player needs? Number one is good gun skill. Now, for a main AR, it's sometimes a little bit easier because the Krieg, you know, it doesn't have much recoil. And while there is a way to get very good with the Krieg and sort of be able to consistently win lots of gunfights with it, in terms of sort of recoil control and actually getting very good with a weapon, it's maybe not the hardest. Whereas an SMG does have a lot more recoil, especially at those long-range gunfights, and with how sort of the current meta is, you have to be able to win those gunfights at long ranges. It's not enough to go, oh, that was an AR, they were always going to win that gunfight. Like, there's a lot of subs out there that will challenge longer range gunfights than you think they should really with these guns, and just because of the amount of practice that they've put into getting very good at controlling the recoil and learning these weapons, that's actually going to help them win a lot more gunfights. So definitely, if you're a sub, make sure you know the AK-74U inside out, you know, killing people at any range, know the recoil pattern, know how you need to control the recoil, and that should be very helpful. You also want to have very fast reactions and sort of know the movement mechanics of the game very well, because again, you look at the ARs, they're more going to be sat back, posted up on headies, playing a little bit slower, whereas your sub players, look at Simp, look at BC, these are very fast-paced players, you know, they're slide cancelling, doing all these movement mechanics that are going to help them sort of win the game. So definitely, if you're a sub player, work on sort of mastering the slide cancel and all things like that, you know, speeding up that movement, how to play the game as fast as you possibly can, and also about that quick reactions, you know, being able to quickly respond to callouts, because as I mentioned earlier, your AR is going to be one that's generally making those callouts across the map, so you want to be able to react to them very quickly and play off that information, maybe even blindly, say someone's behind you, that would be the callout. You need to be able to sort of trust that, turn around and listen to the rest of your team. Which brings me on to the next point, which actually is listening. You need to be a very good listener to the callouts that your main AR, your other sub, you know, your flex, that they're going to be making, because as a sub, you do tend to have the least vision in the map in terms that you're sort of playing the closest range gunfight. So being able to respond to that information very quickly and very effectively is going to be very important. So make sure you're listening to what your teammates are saying. But again, the sub has lots of other roles on the map, you know, like sort of playing the objective. A lot of small hardpoints thinking P1 checkmate, you know, that sort of indoors. There's a lot of them across all of the maps. So your submachine gun player is normally going to be the one that's playing the objective on those smaller hardpoints, or certainly one of them. You know, maybe you'll have one sub sort of hovering around, trying to slay out, helping with the kill pressure, and then one player soaking up the time, that kind of thing. But just most important is that you're communicating well with your team and that you're getting everything done. Because I'll stress it again, I said this, I think, during the AR bit, or maybe before, that the sort of roles in competitive Call of Duty aren't as set as they used to be. You know, you think back to Black Ops 2 Advanced Warfare time, there was an anchor on the team, you know, someone that played for the spawns. Now, while your AR and your sort of your flex might kind of do that role together, there isn't one set player. There might be a time when you as a sub need to hit the back, need to block the spawns, you know, do that kind of thing for the team. So definitely you need to be very adaptable as well, making sure you can respond to what your main AR says, or your flex. You say if they die in the back, maybe you do need to hit the back, you know, win those gunfights to secure the next wave of spawns for your team. Last but not least, the SMG needs to be very good at trading, you know, with those fast-paced gunfights and being able to sort of do these bait and switches and things. You need to be able to trade gunfights. If you don't know what trading is, that's if sort of an enemy kills one of your teammates, you need to be able to kill the enemy that killed your teammate, you know, getting that kill trade straight away. So that is very important, and as a sub, that's something you're going to want to be able to get very good at. But that is about it for today's video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Now, let me know what role you played down in the comments below. I want to know sort of what the weighting is. How many of you are subs? How many of you are ARs, flexes, that kind of thing? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I said it before, go check down in the description below. You know, I've got loads of videos to help you improve on this kind of thing, you know, working on your movement, working on getting spawns, all things like that. I made a whole load of videos on them, so check them out if you haven't already. But I really appreciate you watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.